Hello to all. This is the first of a series of interviews that I'm going to conduct with several key stakeholders from the IT and network community. And it's a real pleasure today to welcome Stefan Röhn, the chairman of the TM Forum, for this first interview. Stefan has an extensive experience in the telco industry. He has been either on the consulting side for almost 15 years or so, and 12 years as a CEO in different leading companies. And so we really have today a sparring partner with us that knows not only the telco industry, but knows the different challenges we have ahead of us. So it's a pleasure to welcome you, Stefan.
Thank you.
So to start with, what do you believe is innovation, and how does it express itself in the telco world?
Christian, thanks a lot, and I'm pleased to be here and give a little bit of my insight from the various things I've been doing. So innovation, that's an interesting question. For telcos these days, it means to be really surprising your customer beyond his expectation. Being digital, being fully data, and as a network provider, obviously having highest network quality at lowest cost with the most recent technology, but always for the benefit and for the positive surprise of a consumer. I think that's what I would call innovation in our industry.
As part of your experience, as I said, you worked for DT and Geo, most probably quite different in terms of culture and way of working. Do you want to share with us a little bit of that experience?
Actually, Geo is the largest operator in the world meanwhile, and 5 years back Geo was not existing on the world map, so it's quite a fascinating endeavor. Actually, I think if you would call one thing innovation at Geo, is that Geo has been built with a non-telco mindset. So the first thing the owner who wanted to build Geo told us, you please stop thinking like a telco, you please start to think like a digital disruptor. You want to bring digital life to India, you don't want to create a telco. So that's what I would call radical innovation. Start to rethink your own business with all the good legacy in mind, but start to rethink it like your next enemy would do, like the Google around the corner, like the next OTT. That's, I think, what I call radical innovation, what we've done at Geo, not incremental innovation.
You have worked with several operators, I think of Deutsche Telekom or Geo in India. So how did you bring in this notion of innovation to those different companies?
Very different and both to some extent effective in what they're doing. So obviously in large telcos you have more a compromise mindset. You try to discuss many things until you find a compromise, and then the whole ship starts moving. In the disruptor environment, it's you take a fast decision and move. Very different. Also in terms of ambition, typically in large telcos you think incremental. Improve cost by 10%, have a better CapEx efficiency by 10%. In startups, it is the big ambition, the big moonshot targets. You want to conquer India, you want to bring that service alive, and you do it really fast. So these are some of the things which I think are a challenge for both the existing incumbents as well as the new entrants, and how they compare with each other.
And in terms of culture, must be quite different as well, no?
Yes, the culture was very different. But again, I think both cultures can learn something from each other. They don't have to assimilate the other culture, but they can learn certain elements.
Another point which you mentioned was, especially with Geo, this notion of entering into different ways of collaboration with your vendors.
Actually, we wanted to choose a provocative name because the topic is really provocative. If you look at how we source technologies these days, it is extremely old school. We take about 6 to 9 months to take a major technology decision. We write down requirements, we do bits and pieces in RFP, we ask lots of work to be done on the vendor side as well as on the CSP side. In the end, you take a decision, and maybe 18, 24 months later, you have a technology in your systems. That is far too long. First of all, requirements are long gone. Secondly, The suppliers know how to make a ton of money out of your change requests. And in the end, you don't have a solution which really fits the problem. So that's why we didn't do any RFPs in the disruptor mindset. We rather asked the technology people to come to our premises, deploy their stuff in our production, work with our teams in the same office building. And this is the way how to figure out how good a technology is and how good a team is. Then in the end, if you think that is a good company, you still have to agree on terms and conditions. But that is then the end. It's not the beginning. So that's why we started that kill RFP thesis. We did a market research and TM Inform, and guess what? More than 2/3 of all companies say the RFP process sucks. It is not fit for purpose anymore. We have to turn it into something more agile. We have to turn it into something more cooperative. And if you're undergoing a transformation, I really recommend you consider that as an important topic.
Maybe to another point, Stefan, you have been involved yourself in several transformation programs, so you might consider yourself as a transformation expert. Ideas or feedbacks you want to share with us?
As you said, transformation is ultimately not a change in technology, but change in people. And people only change if they know why they should be changing. So I think the reason why for transformation is for me the most important thing. If you're not clear why you should change, nobody will change, especially not in big legacy organizations. So be clear about the reason why. Then the second comes, be clear where you want to go to. So not only why do we have to change, but what's kind of the compelling target we have to move to. That's number 2. And number 3 is, it is about people, so keep the people always as part of the journey. Bring them in early on, have very often frequent feedback loops of how you're doing, and be also willing to change course. Keep the ambition level in mind, but be able to change course to get feedback from your people. I think these 3 things I would look at.
Okay. And so how do you measure that in the end your transformation has reached its initial target? Any tips?
I would say radically focus on outcome. Don't try to, I know it's so easy to fall in love with milestones, KPI, this and that. We all have to do it in some way. But in the end, the transformation is only as good as its outcome. So I would be clear what's the outcome in terms of customer benefit. Best is customer benefit, because that is very clear. If customer tells you, great, or if a customer tells you, you suck, you know what you have done. So measure it in customer outcomes. And if you're an internal function, you still have internal customers. So I would always try to go back to customers. That's the new learning out of digital. Be very close to the customers and measure success in terms of their value add, which they see.
So Stefan, one last question to conclude the interview. If you look a little bit ahead and try to define a little bit the future, what do you think we're going to be in the next decade or so?
Probably that's a very big question, very hard to have the answer, but a couple of elements to the answer. Number 1, it will be a digitally only operator. It will be as digital as consumers may not even know that they're dealing with the consumer. On their app, on their voice interface, in their car, wherever. Maybe they don't even know at this point in time when they do interact with the customers. Marketing people don't want to hear that, but I think that is kind of our ambition level. Customers shouldn't feel, and if they feel us, it should be with pleasure. So I think that is one of the elements of a digital operator. Secondly, we will be extremely flexible. We will be able to onboard new partners within a second on the portal, not after long negotiations. We'll be able to sort them out if customers don't like it. We'll be able to switch on, switch off services for the consumer in a very fast and seamless manner. And ultimately, we also do this as a much lower cost base compared to today. More OpEx base like the Googles of this world today, not like the OpEx base we have in large telcos.
So, first of all, many thanks, Stefan, for the interview. I think you brought to us a couple of very good and very to-the-point insights from your experience. So, appreciate that. And I'm sure for the colleagues who will watch this video, there are a couple of good ideas and things that you can convert into new principles that will help the organization. So again, many thanks to you. We make innovation.